Yes, Zoom, I would like to record on this computer. What is today? Okay. Wednesday. That's Good Broncos podcast. Getting tougher and tougher to figure out what kind of Broncos info we should discuss every week. I'm Brandon Perna here with Will Keys. Make sure if you like listening to these podcasts, you subscribe on iTunes or wherever. Today's episode brought to you by DraftKings and our friends at DNVR. So when you sign up at DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, use code DNVR to take advantage of their offers. Okay, we're in the middle of the week, Will. Broncos had their asses kicked by the Raiders. The shit-talking on the internet is getting out of control, but luckily the Raiders and Chiefs play, and their anger has shifted towards each other now. So that is nice. But the Broncos have the Dolphins coming up, which before the season, we might have looked at this game going, okay, that's a winnable game. But right now, the Dolphins feel like one of the last teams I really want the Broncos to be playing because their defense is carrying them and the Broncos offense is carrying nothing. Not even the football, specifically not the football.
They're not carrying the football where you want it to be, which is the end zone. And they have one player to worry about this week, and it's Andrew Van Ginkel.
Yep.
We know what Tua is going to do. Tua is going to be good. It's going to be really bad because Tua is going to make us feel shitty about our own quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Just kind of how I feel watching every other young quarterback succeed right now. And that's not hopping off of Drew just yet, because I think they're quarterbacks that get better as they develop. And yes, he's been going kind of backwards this year, but we can talk about that later. Tua, I expect Tua to play well. Their defense is really good. We don't know who's going to play quarterback though.
Yeah, important. Because Drew Lock's a little banged up in the mid area of his body.
In the ribs.
Yeah, what does he have? A strain?
He has a strained oblique and then I think bruised ribs, which, speaking of ribs, have you watched any of the Chappelle Show on Netflix or on HBO Max?
No, I haven't started to – I'm planning on jumping back into the Chappelle Show, but not recently.
Yeah, I just watched the sketch about ribs as a sleeping aid alternative to like melatonin, and that made me think of Drew Lock. I don't know, just a really weird connection. But definitely get back into the Chappelle Show. I think a weird kind of idea I had, I don't know if it's that weird having reflected on it for a little bit longer. I think Drew Lock missing the game would be a really, really good thing for him.
Explain.
Because it feels like he's kind of just like spiraling out of control at this point.
Yeah.
And you can have the low point, give him like a week off, get healthier, first of all, which you could tell he was, really in pain against the Raiders, and they probably should have taken him out at that point. But I get that they wanted to come back and win. I don't think Brett Rypien's going to steal the job. He's not going to wow anybody. He could he could be exactly what they need and just not turn the ball over and, throw a couple touchdown passes. But I think it'll give him a good opportunity to reset, avoid a defense that's really hot right now, and kind of try to pick things up in the last 6 games, the back 9 of his schedule.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think the best case scenario for Drew Lock is they do give him the week to rest, and then Brett Rypien plays like shit, so Drew Lock doesn't feel bad about playing like shit, and he can be like, okay.
We can shift the blame to Pat Shurmur.
Exactly. Take the heat off.
Which is where both of us want it. So.
Yeah. It just feels like, Pat doesn't have the right quarterback to work with for what he wants to do, and he's not smart enough to change what he's doing to match his quarterback.
How many of those quarterbacks exist out there?
I don't know. Joe Flacco. When we saw Joe Flacco playing well against the Patriots, and it was because he was connecting on almost all of his deep balls, except the most important one that he threw a pick late. Like, it feels like that's the type of offense Shermer wants to run.
Right. He calls games like a lot of people, I don't know, it's like playing using Texas Tech on like NCAA football 14. It's just 4 verts after 4 verts.
He's just like an 8-year-old playing Madden. Like, he just turns to a page in his playbook and just selects one randomly.
Yeah. Another thought that I think I saw someone tweet on Sunday. When was the last time someone pitched a football to a running back?
Oh, for the Broncos? Yeah.
Or just like had some kind of interesting wrinkle in the run game, like a counter or like a draw out of, coming out of behind center rather than the shotgun. An RPO. That's what Drew Lock was so good at last year. And I feel like we haven't seen one all year. Maybe I'm dumb and haven't noticed it, or don't even know what an RPO really looks like.
Right.
But, I don't want to go back and cry over spilt milk with the whole Scangarello thing, but has he not like watched tape of what Drew Lock was good at last year and tried to incorporate it into the offense?
I'm going to say this right now. He's an idiot.
Frustrating.
I hate him.
Yeah, he's got a dumb face.
On a personal level, on a professional level, there's nothing redeeming about him, and I don't know why Elway hired him.
I'll say this.
If all of that can be true, then fixing Drew Lock, there's an easy solution. And here's the other thing, right? Like, Drew Lock's one of his bad tendencies is rolling right and then throwing to the right. So you would think
running out of sideline.
Yeah, and then when his receivers are getting open, he doesn't see them on time, right? So like, there's that clip I think Ryan Green posted of Jerry Jeudy this week, just putting a move on. I forget which Raiders corner is covering him, but puts a move on him, is wide open, running horizontally to the sideline. And by the time he gets to the sideline, the ball is behind Jeudy and in the dirt. So it's like Locke's not recognizing when those plays are going to break quickly, and he's not getting – like, that ball needs to be arriving before Jeudy gets to the sideline, and it's there after. So one of the thoughts, like, if you're going to take advantage of something that I think Drew Lock does well, that would be play action. And
get him to roll naturally to the right and get the
roll
routes
naturally to the right, or
working to that side.
Yeah, set up the run, play action to the right, and then have Drew Lock roll out left after the defense starts to cheat going right. Yeah. And take advantage of a receiver coming across the other way that they don't really see. But I have about 40 minutes of free time a day to think about this stuff, and it's not my job. So, God, I don't know how I could come up with an idea like that, and we don't see jack shit from Pat Shurmur's play calling to do any – like, even just in a close game last week, the Broncos it felt like they abandoned the run completely. And I don't know. I get, like, it wasn't looking like it was going to be super effective, but – and the thing I hate the most is every Wednesday we're talking about the same bullshit. I feel like if somebody's listening to this podcast, they're like, is this the same episode? Like, I'm just running out of new ways to, like, new things to talk about. So we'll talk about the Dolphins more, I guess, but I'm still just airing my grievances. And it's frustrating because, like, we're not seeing them get better. And you look at the Dolphins right now, that's a team whose special teams are playing good. All of it, including their kicker, who I think is still perfect on the season. Their defense
Jason
is playing
Sanders.
well. What's that?
Jason Sanders.
Yeah, Jason Sanders. I think didn't he steal the Special Teams Player of the Month award from Brandon McManus?
Probably. I mean, at this point, he might deserve it. I think if McManus has another 58-yarder under his belt, then he might have edged him out. But he didn't get that opportunity, so good for Jason.
Good for Jason. Yeah, and then
Jason Sanders show.
I really think Tua's going to look a lot like Derek Carr this weekend. Not stylistically, of course, but he's going to be safe with the football. He's not going to like light up the Broncos defense with a ton of passing yards, and it's gonna feel just like another bad game because the Dolphins are just play so efficiently against the Broncos. I don't think.
Are you worried? Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't think the Dolphins notch 4 rushing touchdowns this weekend, but it's going to be similar. I feel like.
Are you worried about Jerry Jeudy watching his old college quarterback to play for the Dolphins and kind of just, switching teams at halftime?
Ooh, that could happen.
Eddie Kennison style. That would be bad.
I do.
He's already frustrated.
I do worry about Jerry Jeudy looking like maybe one of the best rookie wide receivers and just being completely underutilized because of bad quarterback play.
Thinking about Chase Claypool's pretty good, but if you gave Ben Roethlisberger Jerry Jeudy, he'd be over 1,000 yards by now. And Jerry Jeudy on this team is if he averages 60-something yards the rest of the season, he'll go over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Which is crazy given what he's had to work with and work through. And that just shows you how good he is and how good he's going to get. But fuck, is it frustrating not to see him get put in a better situation and get the ball more. Honestly, whenever we talk about Drew Lock missing the open guy, it feels like it's almost always Jeudy. How well were they moving the ball against the Falcons when he was figuring out the best play was to look to Jerry?
Yeah,
every single time.
It's the great mystery. We'll never truly know the answer to that. It feels like Shermer's just got to have basically a variation of 8 to 10 passing plays only. And that's all Drew Lock needs to know. And just see if he can master that.
Yeah.
Get some sort of sample size of plays for him to master. And that way he doesn't have too much to think about. And once he's shown he can master, it feels just like the way you would learn anything. Here's the foundation. Get that. And then we'll add building blocks to it. And it feels like, and this could be completely wrong. We're just guessing. But it feels like fucking calculus has been thrown in front of Drew Lock and he's expected to know all of it, like some Goodwill Hunting shit. And he's Ben Affleck, and
it's breaking his brain, and it caused him to throw the ball directly into Carl Nassib's chest the other day. Yeah, you want him in an offense where it's just quick, easy timing passes, a few deep shots, not a ton, but a few. Some back shoulder stuff, and then something that just gives him the opportunity to get outside the pocket and move off script a little bit.
Yeah. It's
it feels like I don't know,
why are we not
the 49ers offense from back in the early 2010s? I mean, that requires a better offensive line, but something like that where they just give them some easy stuff to do.
Yeah, I would be happy if it was 2nd down and 7 yards because Drew Lock completed a 3-yard pass to KJ Hamler, right? Instead,
yeah, exactly. The guys
it's 2nd and 10, and then they try to run it and they lose 2 yards. So every 3rd down is 3rd and plus 10. So to me, a success would just be make those 1st down passes fucking easy.
Yes, then you don't have to complain about running on 2nd and long.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's not a running on 2nd and long problem. It's a being in 2nd and long problem every other drive.
Yeah, that way. You're in, say, 2nd and 7, and then you run it, and you do only pick up 2 yards. You're at 3rd and 5 instead of 3rd and 14. So it's much more manageable, for Drew Lock.
So what we're saying is Drew Lock was really bad last week, but we're not. Here's my thing: is people always ask, "Is this Drew Lock's last year?" Which we don't know yet. There's still 6 games to work through. A lot can happen. Who knows? They could fire Pat Shermer tomorrow. It'd be weird if they did it tomorrow. After Sunday, they could fire him.
Yeah.
It's all about who's available, because it's not just like a yes or no question on yes or no for Drew Lock. It's if they're in a position to draft someone that they think is clearly better, then yeah, you probably do that. If it's between Drew Lock and just kind of like a retread veteran quarterback, I'd probably rather go Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And put him in a different situation, but not repeat this and expect things to suddenly get better. Although you never know, because he's probably going to have a full offseason, maybe going to have a full offseason heading into 2021, and cataclysmic injuries, knocking on wood right now, might get better.
Yeah, his injuries are starting to be an issue. Like if he has to miss some time.
Yeah, I meant like kind of the team injuries.
Right.
Too, but yeah, hopefully, he doesn't. His shoulder doesn't turn into dust again.
Right. I'm going to continue this Drew Lock conversation, and I want you to remind me of what I wanted to talk about after I finish telling you about DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Week 10 of football is in the books. It's time to review the tape, something Pat Shermer has never done. And get ready for Week 11. There's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook. To add to the excitement of Week 11, DraftKings is bringing back their can't-miss offer. So if you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, head to the App Store now, because you don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to earn a sign-up bonus of up to $1,000 when using promo code DNVR during sign-up. DraftKings Sportsbook has endless ways for you to bet. From live betting to betting on your favorite players, they do it all. And if football ain't for your brain, DraftKings is giving all MMA fans who sign up now the chance to triple their winnings for any bet placed on UFC 255. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code DNVR when you sign up to get the $1,000 special offer. That's code DNVR to get a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You have to be 21 years or older. So you could be 99. That's fine. And it's got to be Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first-time deposit bonus. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for detailed gambling problems. Call 1-800-522-4700. Okay, what I was going to say, I remembered on my own. One guy I keep hearing mentioned as a possible replacement for Drew Lock is Sam Darnold. And here's what is really hard to stomach is Sam Darnold is playing just as bad as Drew Lock has this season. Also has injury issues like Drew Lock has had this season. And I think Sam Darnold has a better chance of being a better quarterback in the NFL just on sheer talent, on what I've watched of Sam Darnold, because sometimes he does make a throw. You're like, holy shit. But Sam Darnold. Yeah, but
so does Drew Lock.
And Sam Darnold, if Pat Shermer's not right for Drew Lock, Adam Gase is not right for anybody. So that's the thing, you don't know about Sam Darnold is, can he thrive in a different situation? So you have to it's the same question. I feel like it's the same risk if you replace Lock with Darnold.
Yeah.
So the NFL is just fucked up. Okay. It is just a fucked up, hard place to succeed at quarterback, because Deshaun Watson is still playing pretty damn good football. Okay. He's 18 touchdowns this season, 5 interceptions, 2,500 passing yards, and the Texans how many games have they won? 2? So
I think so.
They're they have a worse record than the Broncos because their defense has been terrible. I don't know much about their special teams, but they obviously don't have a lot of great weapons there. So a lot has to go right to be good, and trying to actually solve this problem, I don't think is as easy as we want to make it out to be. But it is nonetheless frustrating. And I don't know if some other guy comes into this situation, even if he's a better quarterback, the way everything's currently set up, I don't know if they're going to succeed. I do think if the defense gets healthy, there's a good chance for whoever to have a more competitive shot to win games because they should be closer like they looked earlier in the season. And now that the defense is super banged up front, like every week it feels like if the offense isn't scoring a lot of points, nothing's going to work. And the offense never scores a lot of points. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I want to say one thing, and I think we probably got this wrong, and a lot of other people got this wrong too, which was when they hired Vic Fangio, the trend around the league was hire like a young offensive coordinator type, especially with a young quarterback. And we didn't know who the Broncos were going to draft, but it was pretty clear that they were going to go after a quarterback of some kind after they signed Joe Flacco. And Drew Lock was, rumored to be that guy and ended up being that guy. But while the Cardinals hired Cliff Kingsbury, which was a really controversial move because he had just been fired as the head coach of Texas Tech and was about to become the offensive coordinator at USC. And all of a sudden he is the head coach of an NFL team. That's like a crazy way to advance in your career.
Yeah.
But it's working in year two. It took a lot. It took a lot of growing pains in year one. The Packers hire Matt LaFleur. And what's his record been since joining the Packers? Like 20 and 5 or something. Something really good. Zach Taylor, he got dealt a pretty tough hand last year. I think
jury's still out on that one.
Bengals have been better than the record, but he seems like he's a good fit with Joe Burrow and that offense. Could be better. I don't know if he'll keep his job after a year or so. But the Broncos got a defensive-minded coach, an older defensive-minded coach, kind of zigging when everyone was zagging. And I think maybe just the conventional logic at the time was probably the right way to go. So, yeah. So do you think in the offseason they should just cut their losses? Not that, Vic Fangio has it'd be fair for him to lose his job.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because of the circumstances this year, but it's not about what's fair or not. And we know that. But with a guy like Joe Brady out of Carolina, the offensive coordinator there who was Joe Burrow's guy at LSU, then moved up as the OC with Teddy Bridgewater or Eric Bieniemy, who now that I know that it will give the Chiefs 2 third-round compensation picks, that's a little harder to swallow. But if he's a good head coach, then it's a good head coach. Do you think – I don't think either of those guys are going to be available a year from now.
Yeah.
If you see that guy and you feel like you have a chance at him, should you just do that and see if they can salvage Drew Lock? Because I don't think they're going to have a chance to get their guy in the draft.
Yeah. I mean –
you get past Trey Lance and Zach Wilson's there, maybe.
If you paid me John Elway's salary, I could easily make that decision for you.
Yeah. Oh, we're working on it.
Even with Dupintrin's contracture. If Eric Bieniemy was available, I would make that move. And I'm not even somebody who is sold on the fact that Eric Bieniemy is going to be great without Andy Reid.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point, and something I think about too.
What's Matt Nagy's offense doing now without he came from the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Eric Bieniemy took over for him and then got an even better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. It's Andy Reid is the key there. But let's say Eric Bieniemy is as good as people are advertising in terms of being an offensive play caller. The Broncos have the fucking tools for him to work with on offense to compete with the Chiefs weapons-wise. Maybe not a quarterback, but there are guys there like I'd put Jerry Jeudy up against Tyreek Hill right now in terms of what I think Judy's ceiling can be. You got KJ Hamler's speed there. You have Noah Fant. You would get Cortland Sutton coming back. There's a lot for him to work with. Plus, he's got the Colorado ties. Like, it's probably a good fit that way too.
Yep.
But I guess I would have to know how Vic Fangio is viewed truly in the locker room by the players. If the players like Vic Fangio and it's like genuine, like they like playing for him, I think my move would be to fire Pat Shurmur and bring in a college-minded offensive coordinator to see, and that's assuming they keep Drew Lock, to see if finding somebody who is actually a better fit for him would remedy the situation. I think that's the direction I would go before blowing it all up with another head coach. I think 3 years is a little more fair to a head coach. But
yeah,
I would take Eric Bieniemy at this point. I feel like, and I guess the other thing there is the Broncos with the Dolphins coming into town. It feels like they didn't even hire the right defensive-minded coach because Brian Flores was the defensive guy out of New England. And I think like the real issue there is like Brian Flores and whoever the fuck's the GM with the Dolphins, like they had a vision and they were criticized heavily for what they were doing last year, but it looks like it's paying off.
Well, let me ask you this.
I don't think Vic Fangio and John Elway together have a vision for the team. I think Vic Fangio's like, yeah, just give me a team to coach. And John Elway's like, okay, we'll make whatever roster moves. Like, I don't feel like there's a good harmony there in terms of what they need to do to build a team. That said, the Broncos had what we would all pretty much agree on, like a great draft, 2 good drafts. Like, it's not that there aren't pieces there, and it's just a weird season being
totally
compounded by really bad play last week against a team that we fucking hate, which probably makes it worse. So it's tough because you can go to this is terrible, we need to blow everything up, to hey, there's a lot of good guys here, we just need to catch a couple breaks and this team is competitive. But when your quarterback doesn't show you that he's getting better, that's what scares you.
Yeah, it's crazy how much the sentiment really rides on the quarterback play.
Yeah.
Because after the Chargers game, things were feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And then take a dip after the Falcons game. Now they're at a low point, I think, since – I don't know. I can't remember the last time people felt this despondent right now.
No, I think what I would need to do is like go back, and I'll never do this, so I don't think I'm going to. But I need to go back and like rewatch a lot of how Josh Allen played in his first year. I think that would give me a better impression of how optimistic I should be about Drew Lock, because Josh Allen wasn't good, but they saw flashes of what he could be. And this season's been his best, and we've talked about it on here before. Like, you're always going to kind of gamble with Josh Allen week to week. But he's shown that he can be pretty damn good consistently. And last week he was great in that Cardinals game. They just ended up losing because Kyler Murray was just as good at the end of the game. And I think that was like the first time 2 game-winning touchdowns had been scored back-to-back in some ungodly number. But, yeah, it's like I just don't know what to compare Drew Lock to because he's a different type of player than Trevor Siemian. You could tell right away Paxton Lynch didn't fucking have it. And then we got, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco. You saw some Brandon Allen mixed in there, a little Brett Rypien mixed in, Jeff Driscoll. Like, we've seen too many different types of quarterbacks. Like, I just don't know what I'm looking at anymore. Like, I'm as confused as anybody about it.
Yeah, it feels like we need a hard reset where we play a season without a quarterback and just go full wildcat with Phillip Lindsay.
Yeah.
And just kind of get our,
bearings back.
Yeah, get our head back on our shoulders, and then figure out what to do with the quarterback, 2 years from now. You're totally right.
You know what made me –
the thing is – yeah, go ahead.
No, do you got a good point you're about to make?
It was a decent point.
Yeah, go ahead and make it. Go for it.
Okay. Like, even in that Raiders game, even amid all the bad interceptions and all the balls in the dirt and they're rolling out right until there's no green grass left to be had, I just watch him with a clean pocket and see him set his feet and throw that touchdown to Deshaun Hamilton. I was like, God damn it, he can be so good. And it looks so effortless and clean at times. And I just want it to be like that all the time. That's what's going to because with so many other quarterbacks, with Paxton Lynch, you never got that play or those quarters where this is why that guy was so highly touted. This guy immediately, this guy doesn't fit. He looks like a gangly giraffe on the field who's not as fast as he was in college and throws the ball at a downward angle and has no idea what he's doing within the playbook. But you watch Drew Lock and you're like, yeah, if this happens more, if he can just kind of harness this potential, he can be really great. And that's kind of what keeps you addicted. Because if we saw a 4-pick game out of most guys, the way the season's been going, be no question, yeah, we want to get off this ride. But at the same time, in 2020, fans especially are so – you were prisoners of the moment. And you have to remember, good quarterbacks have really bad games, especially when they're young. And they have really bad seasons when they're young too. And quarterbacks just got such a longer leash earlier, years ago in the NFL. And I wonder how many quarterbacks we've missed on just because they got, given up on too early. So I go back and forth all the time. It just comes down to who's available in the off season.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
It's weird too, because I think through the same amount of games, Trevor Siemian has outperformed what Drew Lock's done statistically.
Yeah.
But watching Trevor Siemian, he never really made throws like Drew Lock that you go, oh, there's something really physically impressive there. Watching Trevor Siemian, I was like, he can play smart foot. He could be like fucking Derek Carr is right now. Basically is what I was kind of hoping you could get out of Trevor Siemian. It's 200 passing yards, 1 or 2 passing touchdowns, 0 picks every week. That's what it looked like you might be able to build with a guy like that. Drew Lock looks like he should have that sort of 4 touchdown, 380 yard sort of game week in and week out. And maybe you're going to get a game where it's 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and the picks were costly. You lose that week. But next week, kind of like Ben Roethlisberger after a bad game, you want to see him bounce back and just go out there firing. If he's going to be a gunslinger, it needs to feel like he's going to own that through a whole game where it's feeling like they're trying to get something going early and everything just doesn't work. And you're getting into a deficit and then shit's starting to just snowball, all the bad stuff snowballing. So I don't know. He hasn't played a full season worth of starts yet. So our sample size is fucked up. This whole year is stupid. He didn't get an off season, but they've had enough practice now where I don't think that's an excuse anymore in terms of him being able to know, he should feel like, hey, it's week 4 or 5 of the NFL season if they had like a regular offseason and a preseason. But
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, and that's totally true. I think with Simeon and Derek Carr, because I think that's a fair analogy. I obviously Derek Carr's better in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I was hoping Simeon could be.
Right. No, but that's like a totally, I think, fair ceiling. Having watched him play at his best early in his career, the difference there is just the offensive line. Like, imagine Trevor Siemian behind that 2016 Raiders offensive line, or even the offensive line this year with that running game. Because they go hand in hand. And instead, Trevor Siemian looked like he was on a pretty good path for his career. Who knows? Like, is he ever going to be an All-Pro? Probably not. But he could have hung around for a really long time and been a pretty good option at starting quarterback. But he got placed behind a garbage, terrible offensive line that didn't put him in good situations and was never ahead of the chains at the running game. And that's something 2016, Derek Carr's best year. And then this year, which you could also argue might be his best season, it's about the offensive line and the running game. And it just puts him in such a good situation and such a good spot to succeed. And that's like, it's organizational failure, I think. And there's bad luck too, because Juwan James opts out. On the other hand, like Garrett Bowles turns into a really good player.
Right.
But so much of it is, we thought that just putting the weapons around him would have been good enough, and then spending a draft pick, say on a center in the 3rd round, and then signing Graham Glasgow. It's like, yeah, okay, this is going to be fine. But, okay, look at what the Cleveland Browns did in 2019 coming off of Baker Mayfield's rookie season. It's like, oh, it'll be great. We'll give him Kareem Hunt and Odell Beckham Jr. Like, how could this possibly fail? Oh, yeah, you give him a really shitty play caller in Freddie Kitchens and no offensive line to speak of, and it feels like what they're doing in Denver to Drew Lock.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point there, because if you're talking about like the organization making decisions, one decision that was incredibly stupid, in my opinion, was letting Matt Paradis go. So since he's gone, they have had 2 centers, and now Lloyd Cushenberry, maybe he turns out to be a very good center. We don't know, but he's definitely the weak point on the offensive line right now, which for a quarterback who you just need to step into his throws and set his feet, if the center of the line is blowing up more often than not, that becomes more difficult. So Matt Paradis right now, like in Carolina, he's still like a top 10 center in the NFL. And he was great for the Broncos. You drafted him. I don't know why you spend a little extra money to keep a guy like that. They had Connor McGovern behind him, right, who wasn't as good of a center. They moved on. McGovern probably would have been a better guard if they just let him focus on that. But it's those type of decisions that kind of have that domino effect of how are we going to actually replace this really good center? Like, why did we let that guy go?
No, you're absolutely right. And to another point, like, you look at the good offensive lines and the teams and front offices that are able to put together offensive lines, it's not just that they spend like a ton of capital on them, because you can't just spend a 1st-round pick or a top 40 pick on every position on the offensive line. Like, you're neglecting the rest of your roster if you do that. You spend, like, say the Colts, you spend a 1st-round pick on tackle and you spend a 1st-round pick on one of your guards. And you kind of like are able to evaluate talent, and the way that John Elway is able to find like a good undrafted running back or a good undrafted cornerback, a team's able to find a really good undrafted or late round guard, center, whatever. And it feels like as good as they've been on the defensive side of the ball, getting late round guys who can produce, they have no idea how to evaluate offensive line talent when it's not just like glaringly obvious.
Yeah. And even that, like, I guess like keeping the good talent when you got it.
Yeah.
I think if they had to like make a head coaching change, I would want Vic Fangio to stay as defensive coordinator. I think that's just what he's meant to do.
To stay as like locker room morale guy, as kind of like I want him to be like the second term Ronald Reagan, where he's kind of like checked out, but he's he's a good figurehead. Like everybody likes him. The locker room likes him. He's still pretty good with the press, but like we don't allow him to make decisions.
Right.
Because he's proven like one of his weaknesses as a head coach is in-game decisions, and he's not very good at like delegating or knowing when to listen to his assistants and when not to.
Yeah.
And on the second, or like on another hand, like the belief was that the offensive coordinator switch was his idea too.
Right.
So that's a big deal. Like that totally is going to change the trajectory of his entire.
No, he was not a big fan of Skangy. That's for sure. Because he's too old. He didn't have the patience to let him develop. Like that's basically what it was. Point.
Or like you think about it, like being a coach in the NFL, you have to. Some of it's just like relationships. Oh, most of it's relationships. But you think about it, is guys make wrong decisions football-wise all the time because, like, think about for anybody listening who works like a 9-to-5 in an office or wherever, where you just like really don't like a coworker. If you had the decision to like let them go, how much of it is based on whether or not you like them versus like the value they're providing at their job? When it comes down to it, like you're gonna sacrifice something football wise for getting someone who you think is your guy.
Professional coaching is like one of the most incestuous like jobs I can imagine.
Well, think about it too, because like how much we hear about the coaches who like sleep under their desk and are in the facility 24/7. It's like no wonder they're going to put guys around them who they get along with.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck with these people.
Yeah.
You basically live with these people. So that's how I think that's a reason maybe like these head coaches shouldn't get to make those decisions. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's something to that.
Unless they've like I don't know, like Bill Belichick still fucks that stuff up.
Yeah.
Like he promoted his son to defensive coordinator, or like de facto at least, and that's been going pretty poorly. Opt-outs aside.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just ready for the next football season, baby.
I'm ready for I can't wait for the playoffs too, because we can just enjoy football without having to dread our team playing and be like, I can't watch these other teams because I have to watch my shitty football team suck again.
Yeah, we got to figure out like a better way to. We either just got to stop worrying about the Broncos for a recap episode, because I didn't even really do one this week.
I don't think anyone wanted to live through that game again.
No. It's just like, they're at that area of bad where it's not even fun.
No.
Like if they were at the Jets level, then I could be having some fun with it. But they won too many games early, gave us a little too much hope, and there's too much talent. Like there's too many guys there that you really care about, that you want to see do well. So it's like I can't even root for them to be shitty. They did okay, so they brought Bosby back. Bosby had to clear COVID. He should be able to play now. They moved on from Devontae Harris, who they kept over Bosby, and OJ Mudia didn't even play last week. He got benched.
Yeah. I don't know about that benching. I think the Devontae Harris thing was probably long overdue. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I guess
mean,
here's my question there. Okay, so you obviously think OJ Mudia is a better corner than Devontae Harris, and like he's not perfect yet. Why take away a game's worth of reps to teach him a lesson when you're just
Yeah,
putting
it's
in
like
a worse, like OJ Mudia, like at his worst? Well, I guess the Steelers game was kind of bad, but since then, his bad games haven't been as bad as what we saw from Harris. So what you did was you cost your team a fucking game and you took away reps from the young player you do like. Like, I don't get that
right.
philosophy.
Yeah, and plus, like his bad game was getting toasted by Julio Jones, which
Yeah.
if you're a quarterback in the NFL and you haven't been beaten by or like been made silly by Julio Jones, please raise your hand. I think some of it was due to tackling too, but I don't think that's worth making a guy sit out a game.
No, I guess,
It's kind of ridiculous to me.
maybe,
Doesn't make
you
sense.
take the opening series or two away from him so so he knows that he has to be better. And then it just seems like the trade-off there wasn't worth losing those game reps.
Exactly.
You're not in a better position as a team now because he did that.
No, not at all.
You know more about Devontae Harris, I guess.
Yeah. God. Well, that's the thing is, like, if they put Bosby back there instead of Harris, like, they might win that game.
Yeah, that's fair.
That you let McManus kick from 58, that game was close enough at the end.
Yeah.
Where it could be the difference between winning and losing.
Yep.
But who am I to second guess a game that happened 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we're living in the past there.
We are.
Yeah,
well, there's no future, so it's our only option.
Yeah. You got anything you want to add before we leave, Will?
Yeah. So shout out to Adam Rank for shouting us out on NFL.com. Check it out. It's he mentions Brandon and basically this channel, so essentially me too. On his Stardom Sit-em for quarterbacks week 11 article on NFL.com / or no, it's actually fantasy.nfl.com. So do that. Maybe tweet at him, say thank you. We appreciate
definitely
that.
Tweet at him and thank him.
Yep. It's crazy the evolution of Adam Rank on this channel from Public Enemy #1 to we've got our hierarchy of guests. He bumped himself up a little bit, I think. Out of the contestants here are Adam Rank, Jake Plummer, Dave Damashek, Brandon McManus, Aqib Talib, and Brant Tobler. There's no bad guess there.
No, Adam Rank putting me in writing. Now that's
in writing.
That lasts
permanent
forever.
ink, baby.
I'm in print. I'm in print now.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. We'll be back Friday or Saturday with the Broncos prediction episode. Not that you care. Good night.
And good luck.